Good morning, children. In today's class, we'll continue with the chapter How to Reproduce. How do organisms reproduce? In last class, we have studied what is the importance of reproduction and why is it necessary. And we also saw the asexual reproduction in unicellular organisms, multicellular organisms, and in plants. We also studied sexual reproduction in plants, right? Today we'll start with sexual reproduction in human beings. How do sexual reproduction happens in human beings? Okay, this is a general pictorial diagram of sexual reproduction in human beings. That is, female produce eggs, males produce sperms. This is a male gamete, this is a female gamete, fused together to fertilize to become a zygote. This zygote develops into embryo. Embryo leads to new individual. This is a general pictorial representation of sexual reproduction in human beings. This cannot happen at any age. To have a sexual reproduction in human beings, both female and male have to attain certain age. That means we have to get sexually matured. Our body development should be proper, and at the right time, both eggs and sperms are produced in females and males. In humans, reproductive organs starts functioning only when we attain certain age. That is, we attain sexual maturity. For males, it will be between 14 to 16 years of age, whereas females 11 to 12 years of age. That age where females and males attain sexual maturity is called puberty. It happens during adolescent age. That period of sexual maturity is called puberty. During this puberty, there are so many physical changes, and we can see the changes by appearance itself. These changes happens in both males and females. Let us see what are the changes that happen during puberty in males and females. In males, in the last chapter, we knew in the study of hormones that testis, it's a male reproductive organ, produce an hormone called testosterone, whereas in female reproductive organ, that is ovary, it secretes a hormone called estrogen. Apart from this testosterone secretion, voice of the males become deeper. It becomes tough and it becomes harsh voice. Gadsagirutte voice. Whereas for females, voice become high pitch. Okay. And for males, we can see growth of hair on the face, like mustache, beard, and other parts of the body. Legs, hands, everywhere, the growth of hair starts appearing for males, whereas for females, we can see development of breasts. And for males, muscles, muscular development, whole body muscles starts building up for males, whereas females, menstrual cycle begins from the puberty. What is menstrual cycle? We'll see in the later stage. After that, due to production of testosterone, the sperm, that is a male gamete, starts producing in testes. It gets produced in the testes. Whereas in females, egg or ovum, that is a female gamete, gets produced in the ovary. These are the major changes in both males and females at puberty. Okay. Just attaining the puberty doesn't mean that we can reproduce, because once we attain the maturity, sexual maturity, everything should get stable. Those changes, we have to accept those changes, and because suddenly when we see those changes, psychologically we won't be normal. We feel somewhat disturbed. So we have to take another 3 to 4 years. For example, 11 to 12 years, female gets starts menstrual cycle. To accept that menstrual cycle itself and the body changes, she needs another 5 to 6 years to accept the changes and to become normal. Similarly, males also feel the same. They feel disturbed. They won't feel comfortable to talk to people during those changes. They accept the changes first and then they'll become normal. Then only it is better to have a sexual reproduction. So our government has made mandatory for males 21 years of age, for females 18 years of age for the marriage. Okay. Now, after knowing these changes in males and females, now let us see, let us learn about male reproductive system and female reproductive system. First, we'll study male reproductive system. This is a picture of the male reproductive system. Here, this is the reproductive system. It is a sac-like structure called scrotum that is present outside the body, which is not present inside the body, outside the body, below the abdominal region. It is a sac-like structure called scrotum. Within this, there is a pair of testes. This is a region where hormone testosterone is produced, secreted, and sperm will be produced in this testis. Okay, there will be two testes. Within the testis, sperms will be produced. And once the sperms are produced, it reaches the epididymis. This is the region outside the testis, that is epididymis. Here, the stores once formed, it reaches the epididymis. Here, the sperms are stored and becomes mature. Sperms get matured in this region. Then the sperms moves through this duct, sperm duct or vas deferens. This is a channel or called vas deferens through which sperms move. Okay, once it reaches here, here we can see a gland called seminal vesicle and another called prostate gland. Seminal vesicle and prostate gland are the two glands that secretes a fluid into the vas deferens. Here, the sperms gets mixed with the fluid produced by seminal vesicle and prostate gland and becomes semen. What is the role of these fluids that are produced by seminal vesicle and prostate gland? It provides nourishment, that is nutrition to the sperms, and also medium to move. Since it's a fluid, easily sperms move through this vas deferens. After once it's mixed with the fluid, it is called semen. It enters the urethra. This is a urethra which passes through the penis and moves. Here, urethra is the common duct for passing urine and semen in males. This is a penis. Inside the penis, there is a urethra through which semen and urine gets passed through it. Don't think both the urine and semen pass simultaneously. Whenever the semen is passing, urine will be blocked and it occurs one after the other. Okay, this is a thing here. And since sperm production, it requires lower temperature. This entire scrotum will be at a lower temperature, at least 5 degrees lower than the body temperature, because sperm should be stored at a lower temperature for to be alive. Okay, these are the male reproductive system has one pair of testes, and it has a second organ is epididymis, where stores sperms, and vas deferens is the sperm duct where sperm moves from the testis to the penis. Accessory glands called seminal vesicle and prostate gland, it secretes the fluid which provides nutrition and also medium for sperms. The fluid containing sperm is called semen. Penis, it is used to transfer the sperms into the female. Urethra, it conveys the semen received from the sperm duct. It carries the sperms from the sperm duct into the female lung. Now, this is the picture of the sperm where it has a head. This is a head and this is a tail. Within the head, there is a acrosome proteins at the end which helps in contact, which moves into the uterus and comes in contact with the ovary for fertilization. Okay, this is acrosome proteins and this is a nucleus with DNA and which gets transferred into the ovary, and this is a tail. This is a picture of the sperm. After knowing their male reproductive system, now let us see the female reproductive system. First is a tube-like structure called vagina. Inside, I'll start from here. This is the ovary where egg gets released. Once it's matured, egg is produced in the ovary. Once it's matured, it moves through the oviduct or fallopian tube. It is called fallopian tube or oviduct, through which egg passes through it and it enters the uterus. This is the pear-shaped muscular organ, that is uterus, where the fetus develops, the baby develops in the female part, that is uterus. Okay, and at the end of the uterus there's an opening called cervix. This is an opening called cervix, and this is a muscular tube like structure called vagina. During the intercourse, sexual intercourse or mating, the sperms gets ejected into the vagina of the female, and those sperms enter the uterus through the cervix and comes into the uterus. During that time, if egg is released into the oviduct, the sperms moves towards the egg, and fertilization takes place in the fallopian tube. After fertilization takes place, it enters the uterus. That zygote divides and forms a blastocyst. This blastocyst gets implanted in the lining of the uterus. At one side of the uterus, it gets implanted. If ovary releases only one egg gets released in 1 month. If this month one egg gets released from this ovary, the next month another egg gets released from this ovary. It's alternate time. Okay. If fertilization takes place here, it gets implanted here. If fertilization takes place this side, it gets implanted in the lining of the uterus this side. Okay, and the embryo develops in the uterus and for 9 months. This is the structure of the egg cell. It will be round in shape, where nucleus is present at the center and mitochondria will be there. The sperm nucleus enters into the egg cell, and here both the nucleus gets fused and becomes fertilized. Okay, this is a female reproductive system as a pair of ovary, a pair of oviduct, fallopian tubes, and uterus. It is also called womb. At the lower part of the womb is called cervix, through which the baby comes out. Okay, vagina, its cervix is connected to a muscular tube-like structure which receives the sperms during mating. This is the details of the structure of male reproductive system and female reproductive system. Here I told, once the sperm comes in contact with the egg, fertilization takes place. Okay, what if fertilization does not take place? In the earlier I told that At puberty, females will start the menstrual cycle. What is menstrual cycle? Let us know before going into the process of reproduction. We'll know what is menstrual cycle. Menstrual cycle means once the egg is released into the fallopian tube, it multiplies, it becomes, and it enters the uterus. It if the egg does not get fertilized after 15 to 20 days of egg production, if it does not get fertilized, it starts disintegrating, and it starts dying. And at the end, those died disintegrated egg, as well as this lining of the uterus, which is prepared for the egg production, starts shedding. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆಚೆಗೆ ಹಾಕಕ್ಕೆ ಟ್ರೈ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಒನ್ ಲೇಯರ್ ಆಫ್ ಯುಟ್ರಸ್ ಲೈನಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ಲಸ್ ಎಗ್, ಇಟ್ ಶುಡ್ ಗೋ ಆಫ್. What if the dead egg or this waste material that is shedded uterus lining, if it's there in the uterus, it is very harmful for the females. So at the end of the 28th day, women, especially females after puberty, start shedding these in the form of blood. Blood starts oozing out from the vagina for 3 to 5 days. After that, again, this cycle from the time of egg production and shedding in the form of blood, this cycle repeats every month. On that, after every 28th day, this cycle repeats from the time of puberty. Usually 14 to 15 years it will start, and this gets repeated till a female reaches 45 to 50 years. Okay. This is a menstrual cycle. This we should know before starting reproduction. This is a picture to show how reproduction happens in the human beings. We saw ovary is in ovary, egg is formed, it gets matured. Once it is matured, ovulation means release of egg from the ovary into the oviduct. That is called ovulation. Release of egg from the ovary to the fallopian tube or oviduct is called ovulation. Once the ovule reaches the fallopian tube, the sperms which had entered the uterus through vagina, it moves towards these are the sperms which enters the egg. Here you can see the two nucleus. One is male sperm nucleus and another is the egg nucleus. It gets fused to form a zygote. Okay. This is a fertilized zygote where sperm nucleus and egg nucleus were fused, and this happens in the fallopian tube itself. It starts successive divisions, 2 stage, 4 stage, 8 stage. Then after once then it enters the ovary, and when the divisions are complete, almost divisions are complete, that stage is called blastocyst formation. Once the blastocyst formation is over, that blastocyst gets implanted into the lining of the uterus. This is the uterus lining. It gets attached to the uterus lining. This is called implantation. Ovulation, fertilization, and then implantation. Okay. This is a picture. This is a blastocyst where implantation occurs, and then it further divides and forms an embryo. Embryo is structures are not clear, and from then every week from embryo, fetus starts developing. Okay. With each and every week, we can see the changes in the formation of the fetus. At this stage, we can clearly see the legs, hands, nose, eyes, everything is visible under scanning. This, at the end of the 36th month, that fetus grows in the uterus of a woman for 9 months. That is called gestation period. This 9 months where the embryo develops into a small baby, that is called gestation period. Because of the fertilization, for 9 months, women won't have a menstrual cycle. Menstrual cycle stops. Once the fertilization happens, menstrual cycle in the women stops till the date of delivery. Okay. This is the picture that's showing development of the fetus in the uterus. We'll see how it is inside the uterus. Okay, this is the uterus, and uterus becomes thick walled. This thickness will be more because it should protect the baby, right? And it should carry that weight. So it becomes thick, and it will be filled with a fluid called amniotic fluid. In this fluid, the baby will be floating. Okay. Once the fertilized implantation is done, a temporary organ called placenta appears inside the lining of the uterus. This is a placenta. It's a temporary organ produced once the implantation is done in the uterus. What it does, it has a villi-like structure, a villi and a finger-like structures which helps in absorption. Villi-like structures is present this side as well as outside the uterus. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯುಟ್ರಸ್ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಪ್ಲಾಸೆಂಟಾ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಎರಡೂ ಕಡೆಗೆ ವಿಲ್ಲೈಕ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯುಟ್ರಸ್ ಇಂದ ಬರೋ ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಿಯೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ನ ಪ್ಲಾಸೆಂಟಾ ಅಬ್ಸಾರ್ಬ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೆ, ವರಾಸ್ ಫೀಟಸ್ ಇಂದ ಬರೋ ವೇಸ್ಟ್ಸ್ ನ ಯುಟ್ರಸ್ ಅಬ್ಸಾರ್ಬ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕೆ ವಿಲ್ಲೈ ಲೈಕ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಆನ್ ಬೋತ್ ದ ಸೈಡ್ಸ್. ಯುಟ್ರಸ್ ಲೈನಿಂಗ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಪ್ಲಾಸೆಂಟಾ ಸೈಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ. This placenta, it provides nutrition, food, ಅಥವಾ exchange of gases, that is oxygen requirement. It takes the nutrition, food as well as nutrients as well as oxygen from the mother's blood supply. Mother blood circulation in this placenta absorbs the nutrition and oxygen and gives to the fetus via umbilical cord. This is the umbilical cord. This umbilical cord, ಕರಳು ಅಂತೀವಿ. ಕರಳು ಮೂಲಕ placenta gives nutrition to the baby. Oxygen, food, nutrients, minerals ಎಲ್ಲಾನು ಈ placenta ಈ ಕರಳು ಮೂಲಕ ಮಗು ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ. And the waste produced from the fetus is given back to the mother's blood through this umbilical cord, placenta, and reaches the women's blood supply, and it gets eliminated through excretion. Okay. Till the 9th month completion, up to 36 weeks, the head will be facing upside. Once the 9 months is completing, at the flag end of the 9th month, the baby turns its head down towards the cervix. Once the completion is over, there will be pressure to push the baby out through the cervix. During the delivery, the cervix, since it's a muscular organ, it expands to the maximum enough. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ದೊಡ್ಡದಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಸರ್ವಿಕ್ಸ್ ಟು ಪಾಸ್ ದ ಬೇಬಿ ಔಟ್. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ತಲೆ ಆಚೆಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಬೇಬಿ ಆಚೆಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಡೆಲಿವರಿ. ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ once it comes out, doctor pulls the babies out. After removing the baby, they'll remove the placenta and umbilical cord also. They'll clean the uterus also. They'll remove this temporary organ as well as umbilical cord and remove the umbilical cord from the baby. They'll cut the umbilical cord from the baby. This is the details of human reproduction, starting from ovulation, fertilization, implantation, growth of the fetus inside the womb or uterus, and delivery at the end of 9 months. 9 months, a female will be holding the baby in her womb and she takes care of the baby very well. Okay, and this presence of amniotic fluid is also very important, because sometimes for some of the females there'll be loss of amniotic fluid at the middle of the 7th or 8th month. That time immediately they'll do the cesarean operation and remove the baby, otherwise it will be harmful for the baby. It might get died inside the womb itself. If it dies inside the womb, it will be a problem for both mother also. Okay, this is the details of reproduction in human beings. Okay, gestation period is for 9 months. Fertilization takes place in the fallopian tube. Implantation takes place at the uterus lining, and placenta provides the nutrition for the fetus via umbilical cord to the fetus, and at the end of the 9 months baby gets delivered. Okay, this is the details of the same pictorial representation. For the rough sake of notes, I have written here menstrual cycle. What is menstrual cycle? How the cycle repeats every month. First fertilization takes place, then implantation, then how nutrition, fetus gets the nutrition from the mother, and what is the gestation period, how the delivery happens. Okay, female, at the end of the female, the sexual cycle or menstrual cycle for a woman continues up to the age of 45 to 50 years. Once the after that, ovaries will not be eggs will not be released in the ovaries. Okay, that is called menopause. Starting of the menstrual cycle is called menstruation. Ending of the menstrual cycle is called menopause. It also marks the reproductive life of the women. Okay, after knowing this, so far we have studied reproductive parts of the males and females and how reproduction happens, starting from release of sperms into the female vagina and then cycle that we have studied. After knowing that, we should also, it is our responsibility to know about reproductive health. Both males and females should know the importance of reproductive health, because women during reproduction, first we should understand what is reproductive system. Both males and females should understand the reproductive system and all aspects of reproduction. One should know all what happens, what changes female will be undergoing during reproduction, because she'll undergo physical changes will be there, and she'll be emotional, she'll be attached to the fetus, and social also behavior. Hormonal changes will be there within the women, because estrogen will be produced, and also another hormone during the pregnancy to protect the fetus. Another hormone called progesterone also is released in the uterus. So female will be undergoing physical, emotional, social and behavioral changes during the period of reproduction. So men also should understand our emotions, understand our physical changes, and we should be, each and every person at home should be supportive to the female who is carrying a baby. What is reproductive health? Reproductive health means it is to avoid the unwanted pregnancies. See, getting fertilized and getting pregnant itself is a big It's a big risk for a woman. So if we don't want the pregnancies, we can avoid the unwanted pregnancies, and during and also overcome or limit the sexually transmitted diseases. If we have a unsafe sex, unsafe mating, we can get sexually transmitted diseases. So it is important to know how to avoid the sexually transmitted diseases and how to avoid unwanted pregnancies. Okay. Now, health society needs to balance the ratio of sex ratio, male to female ratio. Now, as of now, female ratio is very low compared to male ratio. Now society is concerned about the sex ratio because most of the society will be only for, if it is a girl child they'll get aborted. Now that is a crime. Killing a fetus, if female girl fetus ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹೆಣ್ಣು ಮಗುನ ಹೊಟ್ಟೆಲಿರುವಾಗಲೇ ಸಾಯಿಸೋದು, ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಕ್ರೈಮ್. And knowing the sex determination at the pregnancy time, that is also a crime. Because if why, just imagine sex females ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಮೇಲ್ಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆದ್ರೆ, ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅ reproduction in progress? No. So health society of India has called it as a crime because it balanced ratio of sex males to females should be there in the society. Okay, let us study what is sexually transmitted disease. There are two types of disease. One is viral transmitted disease and another is bacterial transmitted. Viral means, as we all know, HIV, that is human immunodeficiency virus. It causes a disease called AIDS, that is autoimmunodeficiency syndrome. HIV is one of the disease, and warts. These two are viral diseases, whereas bacterial diseases, syphilis and gonorrhea, these are the two bacterially transmitted diseases. How we can avoid these two, unwanted pregnancies and sexual transmitted diseases? First, foremost care that we have to take to overcome the sexually transmitted disease is to have a safer sex. Okay. Now, next, to avoid unwanted pregnancies, there are many methods. So, that process is called contraception. It is the avoidance of unwanted pregnancies, also called birth control measures. Now, we'll see there are four methods of contraception. One is physical barriers, chemical method, surgical method, and IUCD. First method is physical barriers. That is use of condom. Males should use condoms before having sex. Or females can use cervical caps or diaphragm. It's a plastic rubber type this thing that is to cover the cervix, so that to prevent it prevents the entry of sperms into uterus, so that pregnancy can be avoided. Second method is use of condoms or cervical caps to prevent entry of sperms into uterus. Next is chemical method. Use of chemical method, and it's a tablets. That those tablets are called oral contraceptive pills. That means these are the hormonal pills which changes the hormonal balance of the woman and stops production of eggs. It prevents the egg production from the ovary. Okay, these pills cause changes in the testosterone, sorry, estrogen hormones in the female ovary and prevent egg production. But this method, this oral contraceptive pills should be taken every day during, apart from menstrual cycle, the 3 to 5 days. Every day these pills should be taken, but it has a side effects. Females will have a side effects because of the hormonal changes. Okay. Third is surgical method. If we decide we don't want kids, Then we can undergo these surgical methods. Okay. What is surgical methods? Vasectomy. In females, we know vast difference is the sperm ducts that carry sperms from the testis to the penis. Vasectomy means cutting the vast difference, both the sides. Both the vast differences are cut and ligated. Ligate and cut ಮಾಡಿ ಆ ಕಡೆ ಈ ಕಡೆ ಕಟ್ಟು ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ. They tie it ಅಥವಾ seize, burn it. Okay. So that sperms will not be passed into the penis. Okay. Whereas tubectomy, they'll cut and ligate the fallopian tubes on either side of the uterus. Fallopian tubes na cut ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು they'll burn that, so that there'll be no passage of eggs into the uterus. Either vasectomy or tubectomy can be done in a partners. It prevents the transfer of sperms or eggs. The fourth is IUCD. This is intrauterine contraceptive device. Intrauterine contraceptive device. ಅಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಪರ್ ಟೀ ತರ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಟೀ ತರ ಒಂದು ಮೆಟಲ್ ಇದಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಅಥವಾ ಮೆಟಲ್ ಫ್ರೇಮ್. That frame will be introduced into the uterus, placed into the uterus of a female, so that sperms won't move to the fallopian tube and eggs won't enter the uterus for fertilization. This avoids the pregnancy, but this also has a side effect. Use of oral contraceptive pills or use of IUCD, it has side effects. Okay, one should know the reproductive health to take care of ourselves from getting infected with the diseases, or to avoid unwanted pregnancies. And also, we should not do feticide, female feticide. ಅಂದರೆ ಹೆಣ್ಣು ಮಗುನ ಗರ್ಭಕೋಶದಲ್ಲೇ ಸಾಯಿಸೋದನ್ನ ಫೀಮೇಲ್ ಫೀಟಿಸೈಡ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ಅದು ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಅಪರಾಧ. So we should not do those things. Okay. After knowing all these things, now let us see the differences between sexual and asexual reproduction. We have seen asexual reproduction in organisms, plants, and sexual reproduction in plants and animals, right? Now let us see the differences. In sexual reproduction, offsprings are produced by a single parent, whereas in sexual, two parents are involved. Here, body vegetative reproduction, only a part of the plant or tissue is used for the development of a new individual. Gametes are not involved. Whereas in sexual, both male gamete and female gamete fusion results in the zygote formation and thus leads the new individual. Here, offsprings typically look like their parents. They are genetically identical to their parents. Whereas here, offsprings look similar, but they are not genetically identical. In vegetative propagation, we have shown that most of them is mitotic cell division, whereas in sexual reproduction, meiotic cell division. Meiosis happens during gamete formation. Okay. It does not require sex organs, whereas sexual reproduction, formation of sex organs is a prerequisite for sexual reproduction. As we have learned in the last class, vegetative reproduction or asexual reproduction, variability will not be there. So evolutionary importance will be very less. And they are very sensitive for any infection, mass infection, or this thing. Okay. So variability will be very less. Whereas in sexual reproduction, variability will be high. And hence evolution takes place. After knowing all this, can we say reproduction is very much required, or it is the only means of providing stability for a population in a particular species. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಒಂದೇನಾ? ಹೌದು, ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಇಂದ ಮಾತ್ರ ಒಂದ್ ಸೆಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ ಆಗಿರಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಇಂದಾನೆ ಡೆತ್ ರೇಟ್ ಟು ಬರ್ತ್ ರೇಟು ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಆಗಿರಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ. ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬರೀ ಡೆತ್ ರೇಟ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುದು, ಬರ್ತ್ ರೇಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಡೆತ್ ರೇಟ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋದಂಗೆ ಒಂದು ದಿವಸ ವಿ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಬಿಕಮ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟಿಂಕ್ಟ್, ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ ಇರಕ್ ಸಾಧ್ಯ. ಓಕೆ, ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಟಿ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್. ಅಂಡ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸೆಕ್ಷುವಲ್ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ವೇರಿಯೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟೆಡ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಸರ್ವೈವಲ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ಸ್. ಯಾವುದೇ ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಡಿಸೀಸ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಏನೇ ಬಂದ್ರು ವೇರಿಯೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ at least few people can survive under the extreme conditions, and this variation helps to make the population stable without affecting the entire population. ಈಗ 100 ಜನ ಇದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಸೀಸಸ್, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ಸ್, ಫ್ಲಡ್ಸ್ ಏನ್ ಬಂದ್ರು ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ 100 ಜನದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು 40-50 ಜನ, ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ 40%, 30% ಆದ್ರೂ ಸರ್ವೈವ್ ಆಗಕ್ ಸಾಧ್ಯ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಆ 30% again we can establish the population. So reproduction is a means of providing stability to the population at a particular species. And another thing I just want to give, ನಮ್ದ್ರಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಸುಮಾರು ಕಡೆ, ಎಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ ನಮ್ ಸೌತ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಕಡೆ, ವಿಲ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾರಿಡ್ ಟು ರಿಲೇಟಿವ್ಸ್. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸೋದ್ರ ಮಾವಂಗೋ, ಮಾವನ್ ಮಗಂಗೋ, ಅತ್ತೆ ಮಗಳಿಗೋ, ಈ ತರ ಒಳಗು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ಲೇ ಮದ್ವೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಇಷ್ಟ ದಿವಸ ಹಾಕ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಇವಾಗ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ವಿ ಶುಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾರಿಡ್ ವಿತ್ ಇನ್ ದ ರಿಲೇಟಿವ್ಸ್. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ವಿತ್ ಇನ್ ದ ರಿಲೇಟಿವ್ಸ್ ಆದ್ರೆ DNA changes, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ವೇರಿಯೇಷನ್, ಕ್ರಿಯೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ವೇರಿಯೇಷನ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ವೆರಿ ಲೆಸ್. ವೇರಿಯೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ನಾವು ನೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ಲೇ ಮದ್ವೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ. ಸೊ ದೋಸ್ ಕಿಡ್ಸ್ produced from the internal marriages, they'll become susceptible, they'll become depressed. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು ಕಾಯಿಲೆಗಳು ಬರ್ಬೋದು, ಜೆನೆಟಿಕ್ ಡಿಸಾರ್ಡರ್ಸ್ ಬರ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ they won't be so active, they won't be so good in learning capacity ಎಲ್ಲಾನು, ಅಥವಾ ಬಾಡಿ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟೇ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, it might become weakened. That process is called ಇನ್ಬ್ರೀಡಿಂಗ್ ಡಿಪ್ರೆಷನ್. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಳಗೊಳಗಳಿಗೆ ಬ್ರೀಡಿಂಗ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ಬ್ರೀಡಿಂಗ್ ಡಿಪ್ರೆಷನ್ ಅಕರ್ಸ್. ವಾಟ್ ಡಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇನ್ಬ್ರೀಡಿಂಗ್ ಡಿಪ್ರೆಷನ್, ಹೌ, ಏನ್ ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ, ವಾಟ್ ಕಾಸಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇನ್ಬ್ರೀಡಿಂಗ್ ಡಿಪ್ರೆಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಇನ್ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಇನ್ ಹೆರಿಡಿಟಿ ಅಂಡ್ ಎವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇನ್ಬ್ರೀಡಿಂಗ್ ಡಿಪ್ರೆಷನ್. Okay, now I hope you have understood the different modes of reproduction in organisms and how it is important, why it is important, and also how we should take care to have a good reproduction. Okay, thank you.